What's up, everyone? Hope you're doing well. In today's video, we're going to be giving you the best loadouts you can start with for the Black Ops 7 Warzone update. First, we're going to go over how the weapons are basically going to be changed inside of the Black Ops 7 update and how the attachments are going to work and things like that, because there's a lot of things changing with the weapons, and weapons are going to be completely separate from multiplayer this time. So the stats and all those kinds of things will be completely separate, where they have not been in the past. They've been directly tied to the damages, the damage ranges, and all that stuff inside of multiplayer. So we're gonna go over kind of all that stuff. I'm gonna give you a tier list of all the weapons that I think are gonna be really solid to at least start out with and start leveling once you get access to them inside of Warzone. The initial fastest way to gain XP and stuff like that inside of Warzone, it will be casuals. Not gonna put it past you. Get inside of casuals, start your double XP tokens, and go ham inside of casuals. That's probably gonna be the easiest way to level things up, doing contracts, things like that. So once that happens on December 4th, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which should be tomorrow. If you're seeing this on Wednesday, December 3rd, that should be the fastest way to level things up. But again, if you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe, hit the noti bell, and hit the like button so you are notified when we upload the fastest way to level up weapons and stuff inside of the new Black Ops 7 Warzone update. So we're going to go over kind of all of these attachments and kind of things that are going to be changing. We're going to give you a tier list, and then I'm going to give you loadouts for the top A list loadouts and maybe some B tier loadouts as well that I think you're going to be able to use right off the bat and should be very solid in the meta. And we'll obviously give you guys a meta loadout, top 10 meta loadout video, probably Friday, if not Saturday, when we've had some time to actually test inside of Warzone, because again, those attachments, the stats and stuff will be their own thing now. So let's go ahead and get into it. So basically, Raven Software, who handles everything Warzone now, has straight up confirmed that Warzone is going to be shifting to a meaningful choice weapon system. Basically, no more one loadout does everything. No more this attachment has all pros, no cons, that kind of thing. So everything will have a pretty solid trade-off. So basically, you can build something for all recoil, but it'll be really slow, or you can build something that's super quick, but will have a lot of visual recoil, basically. So think about that. Building's going to be diverse. The biggest part are the meta shakeups. We're supposed to get a new like meta shakeup 4 times per season. So we're talking like once every 2 to 3 weeks, basically. So we're talking about a new meta every 2 weeks at this point, which is pretty cool. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very important that you are subscribed right now and have those notifications on, because we're trying to keep you guys up to date. And you might think like, well, I'm not gonna have any time to level anything up. Well, that's not exactly true, because the leveling system, at least to my knowledge, is pretty quick. At least in multiplayer, it was super quick to level the weapons up. Now, the camo grinding part of things wasn't exactly the fastest, but the leveling system, the XP earning system and stuff inside of multiplayer, at least, which I would assume would not transfer inside of Warzone, but at least be mimicked in some form or fashion inside of Warzone, should be pretty quick, I would think. But again, it didn't take very long to level these weapons up, because you are able to prestige these weapons now. So I would assume that that's probably the reason. So if you don't feel like prestiging, you just want to max everything out, get access to all of the attachments for the first prestige. Again, when you prestige a weapon, they'll have a prestige attachment that'll be like some extra, and some of them will be worth it, some of them will not be. We'll keep you guys up to date on that as well, but just keep that in mind. So the weapons we're getting are going to be all the Black Ops 7 weapons, all of them. There are going to be a couple of newer ones. If you've been playing the multiplayer, there'll be a couple new ones inside the game. We don't have access to those yet, so we'll keep you guys up to date on how good those actually are, and those will be located inside the battle pass. All the older Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops 6 weapons, all those will stay in the game. It did give in here Vanguard for some reason. I think that might have been a typo. Anyway, but mostly for nostalgia, blueprints, and fun, those aren't going to be necessarily meta. So they will be decent, maybe usable, but they won't technically be meta at all. All the Black Ops 7 weapons should be better. Another thing is that we're only getting access to 5 attachments. There's no more Gunfighter wildcard, and Overkill will be completely gone. When I say the Overkill wildcard will be completely gone, so you don't have to use the Overkill wildcard anymore. I believe wildcards will still be a thing, but there's no more Gunfighter wildcard, meaning you cannot put 8 attachments on your weapons. Overkill will be a base default wildcard that everybody has. So you'll be able to use a primary and a secondary in all of your loadouts, no matter what. So I'm hoping that they make pistols a little broken every now and then so that people will actually use them. But for now, there's no reason to use a pistol. So just as of right now, before we know anything, there's no reason to be using pistols, just strictly because you'll be able to use a secondary. So there's that. So there's a ton of low value attachments attachments that have been redesigned, so there's no more all upside, no downside builds, those kinds of things. So your choices define your strength and weaknesses now. That's kind of a base thing, and they said that in this article here on X and things like that. So we'll have that. So Warzone attachments now have completely separate stats for multiplayer, like we just talked about. Better balance for long range fights, more realistic TTK expectations, so that'll really help this TTK situation that we've always had. Attachments that feel way more specialized, clear pros and cons instead of vague tuning. That alone it's going to change the feel of every single build or loadout we give you guys, so it's going to be interesting for sure. Weapon class identities. Assault rifle 60 round mags are the maximum that you will have for a assault rifle. No LMGs, so LMGs will stay the kings of like capacity, like big belts, 100 round mags, those kinds of things. There will not be an assault rifle with a 100 round mag or even a 70 round mag. They'll only be maxed out at 60, so that'll be interesting. Shotguns, slug rounds will be able to one-shot headshot from their max damage range, so like whatever their max damage range for even the Akita. That'll be interesting too, because the Akita is like a full auto shotgun, so if that one-shot headshots at its max damage range, I mean, that's going to be kind of broken. So we'll see. And there's going to be an attachment where you can akimbo that specific shotgun too, so could be ended up being a broken meta at that point. LMGs, pure suppression machines with the biggest mags in the game, obviously. Snipers, new barrels with flinch resistance and reduced idle sway, so that's going to be good. So long range players can hold their angles better than ever. Basically, if you're a camper, you'll be able to camp better, or just hard scope better, whatever. Attachment categories have been reworked. The suppressors now reduce visual recoil, so like if you want less visual recoil, not necessarily less recoil, but less visual recoil, less visual shake, suppressors are going to be the way to do that. Stocks, mobile stocks will have faster movement, and heavy stocks will equal more steadiness and accuracy, basically. So there's that. Recoil attachments, massive rework for the recoil attachments. If you want laser beam recoil, you now have to stack multiple attachments. You can't just put on one, have like no recoil, and then be able to put on like mobile attach, basically. And high recoil weapons benefit more from recoil attachments than low recoil ones. So let's take the Ames 85, for example. That's a super low recoil weapon. Basically, the recoil attachments for like an Ames 85, this is strictly for Black Ops 7 weapons talking, but Ames 85 is obviously from Black Ops 6. I'm just using that as a low recoil example. So if you take that specific weapon and you just add the porta compensator on there, and then everything else is strictly for damage range or bullet velocity, then the recoil attachment, specifically the porta compensator, won't have as big of an effect on recoil unless you stack on another recoil attachment on top of it. It seems like that's going to be what that means. Barrel redesigns, long range barrels, better accuracy, worse ADS and movement. Mid-range barrels reduce visual and horizontal recoil, but worse velocity and aim walking speed. For submachine guns, mid-range barrels make SMGs more AR-like. For hybrid barrels, that's good. Short barrels for pure mobility and hip fire. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully we get some hip fire builds back, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. ADS speed barrels, faster snap aiming at the cost of strafing speed. So ground loot changes. Ground loot is getting a fresh rotation every single patch. That's gonna be good. The biggest update is that pistols are completely gone from ground loot. That's gonna be huge too. I also hope that there's not a sniper in every single one. That's been an issue as well. Is that sniping? There's just been snipers. I'll drop down into Rebirth per se, and I'll open up 3 crates in a row, and it'll all be a sniper. So we'll see. And just basically, there's more choices, more trade-offs, more identity, more meta shakeups 4 times per season, right? More experimentation, way less. One build dominates everything. So hopefully we'll be able to have a bunch of builds for everything that will at least be able to compete. Something also is that we're getting a new, like, not an event every week, but like a new chat, like we had in Modern Warfare 3, where we had weekly challenges that we could do to unlock different things. 2 times per season we'll have an animated camo to unlock. Other times we'll have like a new attachment every week, basically. So super pumped for that. I'm gonna be keeping you guys updated for that as well, so let's just make sure you're subscribed to the channel, man. All right, so weapon tier list. This is interesting. Our friends over at Community put one out. I think this is a really solid start. For LMGs, the MK7A is going to be absolute meta. I think the Drevik 45 SMG is going to be 100% meta. If you're looking for a sniper rifle to start out leveling up, PS Recon. An interesting one is the X9 Maverick. That's going to be a burst fire AR. Seems to be pretty solid when I put the 3 plates on inside of the firing range inside of multiplayer right now. Again, going to be completely different. We'll test more once we get access to the actual Black Ops 7 Warzone, but it seems like that one's going to be pretty solid. MXR17, this is going to be like your TAC 56. If you're a fan of the TAC 56, this has the cleanest iron sights in the game, so you'll be able to not use the scope here and do really solid. M15 mod has been broken inside of multiplayer. If you've played multiplayer, you know this. M15 mod 0 is going to be really good. I think this is going to be it's going to be a really good start AR for anybody to be leveling and using. Razor 9mm, kind of like a Finnick. If you've played older Warzones and older CODs, Finnick is probably a really good comparison here. It's got a really fast fire rate, little bit of recoil, but really good up close. So interesting. Fast fire rates are really good for close range gunfights usually. So it made A1 another burst fire weapon, but this is a marksman rifle, so that's going to be interesting. M34 Novaline, I think this is going to be the best marksman rifle right now you can level up. Warden's good. Warden has 3-shot potential, but that's the problem, is that it only has about 8 to maybe 10 rounds, base rounds. Novaline, you can put a 32 round mag on this thing and it 5 shots. So interesting trade-offs there, like the trade-offs that we talked about. That's interesting for sure. AK-27 I think is going to be solid. Carbon 57 is going to be interesting as well. Raiden 45k. Also Dravik 45, this is probably going to be a great sniper support option as well, so we'll see how that feels. Peacekeeper, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards that because it's a popular name. Inside of multiplayer, I didn't like this very much. It was not very good. I'm hoping that it's good in Warzone, because it does have a cool blueprint and those kinds of things. So it has some cool things that come with it, so I'm hoping that's good. Shadows SK, fantastic sniper rifle. I think this could probably even be moved up to A tier at least. MPC 25, this is kind of like a MP7 style build. We're also getting the Kogot 7, which is an MP7 looking thing as well. That'll have an akimbo attachment with it as well. So we'll have 2 MP7s basically in the game. We'll have the RK9. This is kind of C tier. We'll see how that feels. DS20 Mirage, Akita. This is an interesting one with that shotgun, 1-shot headshot and the max damage range area. We'll see how that feels. This one has a lot of recoil inside of multiplayer. Hopefully we'll be able to stack our attachments and make that have way less recoil inside of Warzone. XR3 Ion, this is like a 3-shot sniper. I'm not sure that this is going to be any good, but we'll see how it does on maybe single fire or something like that. Echo 12, interesting shotgun for sure. Then we'll have the M10 Breacher. That'll be a 1-shot headshot at the max damage range. Same probably with the Echo 12. So we'll see how maybe shotguns will actually be usable, meaning that they don't have to be like super broken or have one attachment that makes them super broken, that they'll just be usable in general and be able to use like we want to use them. All right, first up, we'll start out with this Razor 9mm. I think we're just gonna, we're just gonna be using the 9mm precision comp. Gives you a buff to the vertical recoil, the lateral precision grip, buff to the horizontal recoil. There's no cons on this as of right now. The 50 round mag's probably okay. You'll have some differences in the sprint to fire speed and things like that, so keep that in mind. Maybe slap on the 40 if you need it. The Ready Flex grip here will give you a sprint to fire speed buff, is kind of what I'm looking for there. And the Serpent pad giving you a movement speed and strafing movement speed buff, so be able to strafe back and forward faster. The Shadow SK, like I talked about, that'll be an interesting one. I think this might be I just don't know which one's gonna kind of replace the Kar 98 yet. I believe the Kar 98 won't be as usable anymore, so keep that in mind. But I'm going mono suppressor here just to start out before we actually get to test these straight off the bat. So, but make sure you save this so you can kind of start out decent. We'll try to get you guys an updated top 10 as soon as we can. But bullet velocity, damage range buff, obviously hiding you on the enemy's minimap. Damage range, bullet velocity here. The rapid Gulf fast mag, it just gives you another aim down sight speed and sprint fire speed buff, kind of why I did that. I think you start out with a 10 round mag, so this isn't too big of a leap. There's not another ADS attachment, so which is kind of why I did that, even with the stocks, unless you put a laser on here. Yeah, you're looking at maybe that, so you could probably use that instead of maybe the 8 round fast mag, but I'm looking for reload quickness as well, so you could see the trade-off there. Well, the billet skeleton grip here for the aim down sight speed, and then I like the rapid fire, the LW trigger here. Could be interesting. Gives you a horizontal recoil, vertical recoil nerf, I guess, but like it's a sniper, it's 1-shots. So, and this thing 1-shots seemingly at any range right now, so just feels pretty solid. Then we have that M34 Novaline. The 3x scope that I think everybody's gonna gravitate towards is going to either be the Greaves AccuSpot 3x scope. I believe there's I don't believe it's on. Yeah, I think it's just gonna be this one, because this one's available on like every single weapon, or at least every single long range weapon. So I think this one's gonna be the one that everybody kind of gravitates towards. And this one kind of looks like this for now, but there's obviously several options for that, but yeah, I think that's going to be the kind of the one that everybody gravitates towards. And then I've got the mono suppressor on here, and then we got a force stabilizer hand stop under barrel, the Bowen 7.62 extended mag, and then I like the seismic fixed stock, so that'll be interesting for sure. The M8A1, like I talked about, again, we have that Greaves, the AccuSpot 3x, the force stabilizer here, hand stop under barrel, horizontal recoil control buff on that, mono suppressor for bullet velocity damage range. I have the Redline capacity drum here. This is going to have the 52 round mag on it. We have the K&S impact stock as well that helps horizontal recoil buffs for this thing. Kind of thing I'm looking for here. This is going to be a burst fire weapon. Like I said, it's going to be as little recoil as possible, but I think it's going to be very solid. We'll see. This is the MX R17, the TAC 56 kind of style weapon that I was telling you about. I've got the Redwell muzzle brake on here, the Rift M7 barrel, the Rhodes 40 round drum, and like I said, these are prestige attachments that they have. This will make it semi-auto and increase the damage by a lot, so I'm interested to see how well this does. Then we have the winch stock here, and then I like the recoil mod, the recoil control mod on here. Just very clean iron sights. This is going to be your iron sight king, I think, right here. Just gonna be very, very fun to use. Then we have that X9 Maverick, which is the burst AR. Again, I have the Reeves Accu scope on here, the 3x scope on here, the Accu spot 3x, the mono suppressor here. I like the granulated OM1 grip, gives you another buff to the recoil. Spectre X guard, again, buff to the recoil, and the buffer spring, again, buff the recoil. This thing is going to be, I think this has the least amount of recoil when it comes to the burst weapons too, and a very fast fire rate. I think it's going to be very, very solid and surprise a lot of people. Next is the MK78 LMG. This is again, we have the Greaves Accu spot 3x scope. I have the RL762 compensator, the Bowen Moon barrel. And then I have this prestige attachment, which is the hip fires, helps improve the mobility and horizontal and vertical recoil control. Then I have another recoil control stock on here because I think just having the bigger mag is going to be, this is a belt fed mag, so you have a 500 round mag here. So I just think having this on here is going to be super helpful. Again, I think it's going to be really solid. We'll see how it feels, but I think it's going to be really solid. The VS Recon, this is going to be your best, probably long range sniper, I would assume. Mono suppressor. I have the stable focused handguard plus prestige attachment here. The R1 shelf grip. I have the this is interesting too, because the range laser here gives you a damage range buff without having to use any kind of barrel. So you could probably, yeah, so I'm not using a barrel on here instead of using the range laser, and also gives you a recoil stabilization buff. But again, you don't really have to use that. And I have the overpressured rounds. This has a 1228 bullet velocity on it. And the irons, not the iron sights, but the base scope on this is really, really clean. It just really feels good, man. So we'll see kind of how that feels as well. Then the Dravik 45, feel like I'm gonna absolutely love this one as well, especially as a sniper support. We have the Hawker Hybrid 45 spread muzzle, the Verse barrel, the front gate fast loader, probably gonna go with the Lockjaw 48 round Gator extended mag here, Herald Z1 grip, the Defiant 45 skeletal stock, and then I like, actually, you know what? I think we might go with, yeah, I think I like the stock on here. I think we're gonna, yeah, we'll stick with that one. Actually, we'll go with the aim walking speed, movement speed. That way we're gonna be able to strafe a little bit better, I think. But yeah, so I think that's gonna be a little bit better for that one. And then last but definitely not least, we have that M15 mod. Again, I have that 3x scope on here again. I want to try to find, there's one more 3x scope that you can like 3x, this one, EAM dual zoom. This is an interesting one as well because it starts out in a 3x scope, which may be a little bit better for some people, but then you can also like zoom it in like that. So this one may not be it. I think everybody's going to really just kind of gravitate towards that first scope we've been kind of using, that first the Accu spot 3x. I just think everybody's going to kind of gravitate towards that one. Redwell compensator here. I like the Fusion barrel, the Bowen Bulwark mag, and then we have the Bowen linchpin stock for more horizontal and vertical recoil control. Thank you guys again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that noti bell so you don't miss a video like this or like one of these. See you in the next one.